Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. Hello.
And I am Sam Healy. Welcome back, y'all.
To the last top 10 list that we're doing this year as a group. Of course, there's only like 3 more days left in the year, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody gonna die?
No one's gonna die.
Yeah, that's a nice segue into our top 10 experiences of 2017. Yeah. I remember when I used to play with Tom.
I'm just sitting here by myself. Those guys were nice.
Wow.
That's a lie.
Super dark.
I love how in this fantasy I'm the one that survived. Probably won't be that way.
That was you who said that, you realize, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. So anyway, a couple things here. First of all, realize that we played a ton of games this year. And with a lot of people. So if you played a game with me and we had a fantastic time and it's not on this list, that's just because there's so many great experiences.
You were number 11.
Do not. That's true. You are number 11.
I was actually going to say that my list is in no particular order.
Well, my list
along
is in
that
a very
vein.
specific order. Like the people I played number 10 with, I dislike way more than the people I played 9 with, and so on.
You know how you're usually telling me to stop digging?
Okay, let me explain it again, right? If you're at number 8, I don't like you.
Stop, Z!
My list is actually in order, but just by how memorable the experience was for me. That's all.
Yeah, I guess so. I tried. You're right. The ranking's a little iffy anyway.
It's very.
And again, I could have easily stuck other things on this list, and there's probably at some point I'll be walking down and be like, oh yeah.
We might remind each other of things too during the list.
Well, we have crossover. Oh.
Well, we were talking about this before. We were talking about how maybe we should like keep a journal or just take notes about all the different things that we do during the course of the year. And my response to that was, you know, if you can't remember that something happened, then should it really be on the most memorable list? But I mean,
but we're getting older, so we can't use that as a thing anymore.
The problem for me is if I did it on the cruise, let's say, and I remember it, I can't compare that to like a game I played in February and do I remember it? You know what I mean? I even had to ask Sam, like, hey, did this thing happen this year?
He's like, you guys just gave me an idea.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it did.
I just remembered something. Okay. Give me a pen.
No, it's too late.
Yeah, you can change it now. Don't worry.
All right, here we go. Number 10s.
Number 10.
All right, so my number 10 is one of those things that, you know, every once in a while we get an accolade or something to that effect. We get somebody says,
"You're so good."
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
It happens.
it does every once in a while. It's few and far between. And when it actually does happen, it pretty much stands out. But this one I got just a few days ago, and
so good.
we were I along with 6 other people were voted the top 6 board game media creators that you would want to play a game with. I know it's a really long title.
Where was this?
This was from a podcast called The Drinking Meeple, and their
Cool.
listeners,
Glad I lost.
their listeners did a vote. And I was thinking about this as I was writing this down. I was like,
I'm really glad I lost.
Am I number 6? Did I just squeak in? I mean, it was like, you know, it's one of those things. But it's also one of the coolest things that I've ever had somebody tell me that you were voted top 6 people.
That I want to go drinking with and
Play a game with.
That to play a game with, I have to be drunk. I believe it was the way it works.
That could be. I didn't put that much thought into it. I'm next.
We're here to tear it down.
Yes. But anyway, that was one of the coolest. And I tweeted back. This is one of the coolest accolades that I've ever received because I just think it's cool that I would be in a list of other people. I mean, the Brothers Murph were on it.
he didn't.
Chaz Marlowe was on it. No, Chaz Marlowe was on it. There was a couple of other people that I recognized. Come on. But it was a cool thing to receive. It was a cool bit of news. That's my number 10.
Very
My
nice.
number 10,
Cheers.
I won an award for my number 10 is actually a game I play with these guys, and that is our live play of Mountains of Madness.
Oh.
Now, it's kind of weird because Mountains of Madness is not in my top even 30 games of the year. I like the game. It's fun. But that was a really fun experience. I don't know what it was. Sometimes we play a game and we're done, we're like, And that's happened after a lot of live plays we've done.
Him sitting in the field position in that quarterback trying to communicate.
it was you. What was he saying?
You had to speak in 3-word sentences or something.
Yeah,
or,
it was something weird.
it was something.
You're like, I have 3. Or 3. You couldn't use verbs.
I couldn't use verbs. Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, it was, yeah, that was memorable. You're right.
It was really funny, and the thing about these lists are, it's always I gotta be careful because party games could easily be all 10. Because those are the things I often remember. They're silly and they're funny, and they give a lot of great experiences. And this game is pretty much a party game
Yeah.
with a victory
serious
track.
theme, yeah.
So Mountains of Madness with these two guys.
All right, my number 10 is a party game. This is, I played this on the cruise. One of the evenings we went up to the Olive or Twist or whatever that place is called.
Right. Good
Really
job.
high up,
That's
14th floor, I
right.
think. And the game is called Mr. Lister's Quiz Shootout
Oh, I like that game.
that Dan King was carrying around with him. He had a little quiver, one of those things with a bunch of games in it. And we were up there, like I said, in the evening, and it was himself, his wife, and I know Plonacor was there. Zev was there. There was another couple there, and maybe someone else I'm forgetting. But anyway, it was a nice group. So we were up there. We just sat around in chairs, no table or anything, and just played, making. It's a game where you try to answer questions. It's a listing kind of game.
I love lists.
But it was a fun time. We had a great time. So you got the atmosphere. The place was very welcoming. You're on the ship and you're playing this sort of silly game, and I really enjoyed it. So the game again in this instance really is secondary to the experience of the people who are there and the laughter and all of that, which is true for many of these. But my number 10, Mr. Lister's Quiz Shootout.
Number 9.
All right, one of the games that got a lot of play for me this year was Near and Far. I played it many times with many different groups, but one stood out for me in particular, and this was at the UK Games Expo. It was a scheduled game, and it was in the morning, like, I don't know, maybe 9:30 or 10. I forget what it was. And we went off in some corner of the hotel by the swimming pool, which was an odd place to be, right? But we found this table.
It was humid back there too.
It wasn't so bad in the morning, but yeah, and the guy kept during the game. The guy kept coming by and going, "Just so you know, there's a scheduled game here at 11." We were like, "Okay, we got it." He came by like a little bit later. There's a scheduled game here later. We're like, we know, we'll move, we promise. But just the way we played that game, it was a really fun game anyway. But at the very beginning of the game, one person made a decision which caused like a curse to happen to everybody else, and so we berated that person. And I was kind of like, okay. When playing with new people, like, how much can I trash talk?
Right.
When they all trash talk me instantly,
Yes.
it's a good feeling, right? Because then I know it's all out. And it was just a great experience. There's already story in that game as it is, but just that back and forth I really enjoyed. I've enjoyed every playing of the game, really, but that was my favorite one.
Very nice.
The
Yeah,
Near and Far.
I remember playing. Actually, that didn't make my list, but you reminded me that we played that where we were staying.
Yeah. At Luke's
Right.
house.
Yeah, and that was.
And I thought about
was a
that
fun
too, right?
time, too.
Yeah, it
So that was when I first played. I was like, wow, and it was just very, it was homey because we were in someone's home, and I liked that very much.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right, my number 9 is I got to play an oldie but a goodie, Around the World in 80 Days. This is the Michael Renek design, not
Wow.
the reprint of the Yellow game.
This is the one with the time track. That's like the first game I've seen that in.
Yeah. And I got to play this when we were at the gathering. We went to Snakes and Lattes, and I sat down with a lovely couple, and they wanted to play something. So I went and found this on the shelf, brought it out, and I believe there were 4 of us in total. Played it, had a great time, just chatting and playing very casually, and it was just a lovely time. The atmosphere there is fantastic, of course. We've talked about Snakes and Lattes in the past, but again, it's about the people, and they were just so warm and welcoming, and I had a great time. In fact, later on, they did the little raffle thing. They had like little games they were raffling off or something, and I ended up getting a little Oink game, and I just gave it to them. I'm like, here you go, just a little gift. But yeah, they were great. So that gaming session was again very memorable. Around the World in 80 Days at Snakes and Lattes. That was my number 9.
I actually considered some of those. I mean, the games I played there were really great. That was a really great time.
Yeah, that
I
was the
enjoyed
first
that a
time I
lot.
played Wasteland Delivery Express.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So
Wasteland Express Delivery Service. Weds.
I just call it Wasteland.
No, it's Weds.
Weds?
Yeah, Weds.
Is that short for Wednesday?
Yeah.
All right. What's your number
Was
9?
it on a Wednesday? No, it wasn't. My number 9 is being a guest on Epic Gaming Night with Roy Kennedy and Rob Newman. Really enjoyed my time here.
So cool.
No, not golly, stop it. No, it's not that. It's just that it was a great time. We were able to just sit and talk, and there wasn't a whole lot of people watching the thing. That wasn't the point of it. It was just simply that I was able to sit down and just have a really cool discussion with Roy and Rob about different games we've been playing and different things that we've been doing and all that kind of stuff. It was just a really fun time.
Was this live somewhere?
Yeah.
Where?
It was a Google. It was like a. I think they do it with Google Hangouts.
Oh, you did it from here, and you did it. It went out live.
Correct.
You weren't in front of a live audience.
No. No. We Skyped, and then he pulls the Skype into his YouTube feed. I believe how they do it on his YouTube channel.
You made it sound like I thought for a second that you did it in front of a crowd.
No, this is I was sitting in the other studio room by myself. But I had
in his PJs.
I was not in my PJs. I do not do that, by the way. I'm always fully clothed whenever I record myself, unlike other people at the table.
What?
I'm just saying.
You don't know.
I know what you've told me.
Maybe I was lying.
That possibly, hopefully, is true. But anyway, my number 9 is being a guest with Epic Gaming Night.
There have been some times where I've worn a suit coat, and I'm like, let's get hot. So I take the suit coat off.
Stop it!
Later on, the tie is starting to like take the tie off. And then...
Number 8.
My number 8 was a play of Fate of the Elder Gods that I got to play at Grand Con. There were several memorable experiences at Grand Con, actually, but I picked one. I got to play with Graham Anderson. I got to play with Richard Launius, who taught the game because he's a co-designer on it. There were a few other people there at the table, and he just, Richard Launius is one of those guys who can make anything fun, just about like any game.
Yeah, if you're ever at a convention and have a chance to play with him, take it. I don't care if you like the game or not. Take it.
Yeah, he'll make just about anything fun. Not to say that the game is not a good game. I do enjoy the game. I liked it, and I thought it was a well-designed game. Not quite what I was expecting at first, but I enjoyed it. But he always manages to get to get people into whatever's happening in a game. And the gameplay, the mechanisms, all of that stuff kind of becomes secondary. And I like that in games anyway. So that was a really great experience. The whole Cthulhu thing, the whole I'm going to send my cultists out to do this and send the investigators over to mess with you. And we were like, pushing them off on the other people, playing spells on the other people. It was a lot of laughs, and it was a great time. So I enjoyed it very much. Fate of the Elder Gods with those guys at Grand Con was my number 8.
Cool. Oh, it's my turn. Sorry. All right. Now my number 8 is... Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate those air quotes. My number 8 is recording a Dice Steeple podcast with... And I got to name these guys out because that's what made it cool. Mike Fitzgerald, Stefan Brousseau from Yellow, Alex Goldsmith, Dan King, he's my co-host, and we were talking about themes in games. And it was a cool experience, first of all, because that's one of the things we try to do on the Dice Steeple is to get a number of different people from a lot of different walks of life talking about one specific thing so we can get all of those different points of view at the same table. That's one of the things we really strive to do. And it was just really neat to have all those guys. I don't think there was a single. I don't think that there was a similar, like vastly similar walk of life represented out of any of those people. I mean, Dan and I are probably the closest, but even our stories, our lives are like vastly different. In our experiences and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was just a really neat experience. It was at Gen Con. We were sitting in Dan's hotel room. So it's like me and Mike were sitting on a couch that was in his room, and then Stefan is sitting on the bed, on the edge of the bed, and then Alex is over here sitting on one of the chairs in the room, and then Dan is sitting on this footstool. And then we have on the table his microphone set up, and so we're just all kind of huddled around this microphone in a room. It was just a really fun experience. It was a great conversation that we had, and it has just really stuck in my mind. So that's my number 8, recording a podcast with Mike, Stefan, Alex, and Dan.
All right, my number 8 is actually, I wondered if this happened this year, and we played it on January 3rd. This has been a year of me for whooping up on cooperative games. I finally beat Robinson Crusoe. I played with someone on the internet, and we won together. I then met him on the cruise, and they said they won again. Maybe it's him. It's definitely not me.
Definitely not you. I could have told you that.
But Melody and I played a game of Ghost Stories, and we played it live. You can actually go watch the game. And I remember this game distinctly because we were playing. I was teaching Melody how to play the game, and about 10 minutes in, I was sitting there going, let's just wipe it and start over. Because we were doing it that badly. We're like, you guys are just seeing really bad stuff. It's not, the game normally isn't this bad. But then we were like, we had a third player, which was the people we were in chat. They're like, try this. We're doing this, and then we won. It was so amazing.
That's cool.
You know, it was really cool to come back. When I think if I went through my top 10 experiences ever, I think when we did that, I still remember that time we won Ghost Stories on a single roll, and everybody was standing up at the table, and the person had to roll a certain color. You know, that's cooperative games. When you win them, create such a great experience.
Right. Yeah.
And this was one of those.
Galactica that we did that with.
Where it came down to a single, like you were trying to jump?
Yep.
Yeah. To me, that's exciting. I mean, hopefully you will do better than that so you don't need to be down to that single roll. But I don't know. I get a kick out of that sort of thing. So that is Ghost Stories with Melody.
Number 7.
My number 7 happened at Dice Tower Con, and I got to play a bunch of games there, but this is one that I remember distinctly because I played with Nicole Hoy and Crystal Pisano was there, and I taught them Sheep and Thief. The reprint. I got a nice big reprint of it. And I like the game very much. I like them two very much. But part of why it's kind of memorable is because I think they spent most of the game like oohing and ahhing about the cute drawings and stuff. So it was just kind of fun. And it is a very pretty game. It's very cute. But getting to sit down and teach a game I already know I enjoy, that I'm thinking they're going to enjoy, and they do. And on top of that, they're really amazed by the little sort of Easter eggs on all of the cards, the cute little illustrations. Every time we're drafting new cards and they get a new hand, you get that moment of like, oh, I love that stuff. So it was very fun and funny and kind of like a light, airy, refreshing sort of game session, which you get a lot at Dice Tower Con anyway. Sitting around, taking it easy.
Sign up now.
And just playing some games and having a good time. Like very little pressure I feel there when it comes to sitting down and gaming. There's very little pressure. I like that. So my number 7, Sheep and Thief at Dice Tower Con.
Cool.
My number 7 is another game with these guys. Don't get too caught up in this. This is 2 out of 3, I think, on the list.
There's one more.
Had 3 out of his
I have
10.
none with you.
That means 30%.
-1 with you.
Well, anyway, this is the series of Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Now, actually...
Oh, yeah, that was this year.
That was like a month ago you do this.
Man, I'm playing.
That's his number 1.
I think our experience of playing the first one was even greater because...
Maybe you didn't know what to expect.
We didn't know what to expect, right? Mm-hmm. And we even played the first one. Like, we played the second one. It took us longer, I think, time-wise, to play it than the first one. Maybe? We did kind of marathon the end of it a little bit. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I just really enjoyed how I like these legacy games. Now, I mean, our playthrough, Charterstone, that was fun. That was good. But because Pandemic has that deep story behind it, that's how I remember it. I'm like, I remember when this happened, and I remember when that happened, and I remember saying this. I can't even talk much about it here because I'm not spoiling it. But it was just a really fun experience.
No, I think the choices that you make in a game like Pandemic Legacy have, or at least they feel like they have far more far-reaching effects in the game than the decisions that you make in Charterstone.
In the story,
In the story, yeah, that's what I meant. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so Pandemic Legacy Season 2 with these 2 jokers.
All right, my number 7 is this is my first actual game experience, I guess you could call it.
Ever.
No,
2017.
but on this list. And this happened in our UKGE trip when we went over to England. And I was playing Timeline British History with Jay Howitt, Luke Hector, Steve Rain, and Jonathan Hicks and Jonathan Sun. at the Dice Cup in Nottingham, UK. It came from this idea that I had. We were at one of the other drafts in East London in that one, and as we were walking out, I saw Timeline British History sitting on the shelf there, and I was like, I knew I was going to Nottingham the next day, so I was like, I got an idea. I'm gonna challenge a bunch of Brits at Timeline British History, see if I can beat them. I did not beat them. But it was a great experience because they were just racking their brains trying to figure out how all of this stuff goes into it. But another thing that was cool about the game is that I was hoping it wouldn't be too much of an academic experience where you have to remember all of those things that you went over in history class in school, and it's not like that at all. As a matter of fact, you can actually kind of deduce a time period just based on the picture that's on the card. And you can kind of figure out where it's going to be just based on the picture, or at least have a pretty good guess. And so I liked that effect that the pictures had in the game, that it wasn't this cerebral academic experience. It was much more of a very lighthearted experience, and playing it with them was just a great time. We had a super time there at the Dice Cup in Nottingham. So that was my number 7. Playing British history timeline with a bunch of Brits and almost winning.
Didn't we play that on the subway, on the train at one point too?
Yeah,
Well, we were like
messing with it. I forgot about that. See, that was also a great experience that night that we spent at the. Is it drafts? Is that what the
Drafts.
game?
Oh yeah, that whole draft thing, and then that meal. I still remember that meal.
And then the meal.
Yeah.
That meal is
was
top
right
10
next-
meals of
right
the
next
year
door.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's right. It is.
That's next. You and me.
I have my list of top 10 meals of the year, and that's definitely on it.
Yeah. So that's my number 7.
Nice.
Number 6.
All right, my number 6 is more of a sobering one, I guess.
Yeah, stop it. Getting on lists.
No.
Get it? No, never mind.
Okay, so I don't
ahead.
actually remember the game.
Should have a brown bag on this.
Well, I don't actually remember the game,
Okay.
but this was at MeepleCon. I remember the first game. Okay, I was playing Kemet.
Is it the poop game?
Well, no, that was more than a year
ago or 2 years ago.
So anyway, I was playing Kemet with Joe
made my list.
Stedman and with 2 other guys who were colluding. And
Okay.
in the middle of the game, for some reason, I checked my email and I got an email from my dad. And then so I went out and called him, and I found out that my mom was like near death, like a couple weeks from dying. And so that was like, I've never been thrown off in a game so much. I sat back down
Did you
and I
go
was
back
just
to the
like,
game
I
at
did,
that point?
and I was just kind of like, I don't care anything else,
no,
right?
no.
But there wasn't anything else I could do, right? And so we put that game away and everything. But then I know I went and played some more games. I know we definitely went and did Wits and Wagers.
Right.
We did the party game, and you know what? That really helped. It took my mind off it. That's why I remember that. Again, it's not an experience where it's like, yay, but I just remember it strongly. Like I remember how the Kemet game was going,
Yeah.
and then the rest of it I don't.
Just
It,
kind of heightened all of your senses.
it really did,
yeah.
but I mean, it was just one of those things that, you know, in a movie when you see the person and they have realization, so they pull the camera back while zooming in at the same time.
Yes.
That effect thing.
Yes.
I felt that. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
It's just like, and you're just like thinking. So I don't know. I just really remember that moment, and you know, it. Not the best experience, but
Right.
that was something I definitely do remember. So MeepleCon. It's you now. Bring us back up. I depressed us.
Yeah, you do. My number 6 is Dice Tower Cruise.
Cool.
That's that. Now, the reason it made my list this year, it probably made my list last year. Of
Course it did. Isn't last year the year that he basically just put on conventions?
I think so.
It was like
That
number
might-
5.
well, you
UKG. Actually, that was 1. I'm sure.
Number 4, January.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Dice Tower Cruise really stuck out to me this year because last year I was not feeling well. I wasn't sick, but I just wasn't all there, I guess you could say. And this year I wasn't feeling like that at all, so I was able to play a lot more games with people. I was able to spend a lot more time doing things with my family and that type of stuff. We were able to get off the boat. a little bit more often. Just didn't feel like it last time.
Yeah.
And so that was a really cool thing that I was able to pull off. And it's the playing more games part of it that really makes it kind of stick out. Because it wasn't just with other people. I got to play a couple games with my family as well. And that's what really made this one kind of stick out a little bit more for me. So that's my number 6. It feels kind of, chintzy and shoehorned in, but Dice Tower Cruise was just a better experience for me this year than it was last year.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed it.
All right, my number 6 is...
Dice Tower Cruise.
no, it's actually winter, all the winter months.
Well, mine is just the year, 2017.
Now, my number 6 is playing a bunch of escape games. I had a friend come over for a whole day, and we just blew through like 2 exit the game packs and 1 or 2 unlocks. It was like just brain melty, day. But it was a really memorable time because I really enjoyed those experiences. Those games are great, on the one hand, you're like, okay, I'm only gonna get to experience this one specific scenario once, so it's like, okay, can't really do it again. It's not even like watching a movie where you can ignore the twist and be like, yeah, I know what's gonna happen, but at least I can enjoy other aspects of this. With the game like that, you can't really do anything. But packing it all into a day and taking a little break and then coming back to it and doing a few more puzzles, it just felt like a really memorable, engaging experience. Had a blast. So Exit the Game is the one I'm putting on the list specifically because I remember those very distinctly, just like the ripping up of paper and there's like stuff everywhere, a pair of scissors over here, and I enjoyed that a lot. So yeah, that's my number 6, Exit the Game, and all of those escape room type games.
Number 5.
All right, now we're breaking into the top 5 experiences of the year for us. And so my number 5 was being able to spend a couple days after Dice Tower Con at Rob Oren's house, just playing games and recording videos. My oldest son, Michael, and I went over there afterwards. He lives pretty close to Orlando. And we were able to go to his house. We spent the night. We, goofed around that night and then woke up a little early the next morning. We were just playing games for about half the day and recording videos and all that kind of stuff. It was just a really cool time to spend with Rob, with his family. And it was just a cool experience that my son and I had together as well, just that little bit of traveling that he and I were able to do without the rest of the family.
Right.
So that one stuck out as well. For me, it was a great time, just kind of a personal experience with me and Rob and my son. And we played a bunch of dice chucking games, Amerithrashy type games, and had a great time with it. So that's my number 5. A couple days at Rob Oren's house after Dice Tower Con.
Very cool. All right, my number 5 is also up in Orlando. This was the one I had to ask you about because I could not remember if it was this year.
Right.
And this was during our gaming marathon.
Which one, the first or second?
The one where we
remember.
I don't know. Yeah, I know we were. Vernon was there. I remember we played with Vernon, and specifically the moment that's jumping out to me right now is when we were playing Conan and all that stuff. He brought out all his crazy miniatures. I remember him
he's sitting there painting.
He would run away and paint and come back. It was crazy. He's a machine. But
he's still kicked
just the entire. I mean, I'm highlighting Conan because it's the one that's really jumping to mind. But the whole thing, playing the silly dice one you like at the end. The board got bust by
tumbling
someone.
Dice.
The tumbling dice debacle.
Why you gotta bring that up, man?
Because I remember that. It's memorable. In fact, I'm switching. My number 5 is actually Sam breaking stuff.
Oh, that's my number 4 through 2.
Anyway, Conan and other games at the marathon that we did up in Orlando at the cool stuff.
The others.
It's
played the others as well.
We played the others. Yeah, that's another one.
Conan and the others back to back.
Yeah, both of those games are really enjoyable, and Vernon is the kind of guy that really gets into those games, for better or worse. he really gets into them. So
for worse. Most of the time.
When he's being the bad guy, he really gets into being the bad guy. He's merciless, It's like, rules, forget that, I'm going to crush you. Yeah, but what about this? I have a question. Shut up. So, that's what you
Memorable.
get. That's my number 5. It was a good time.
I'm going to channel Sam for my number 5. My number 5 is a whole event.
What?
Well, it's the At Essen when we went to Dyson Mystics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essen is so stressful, mostly because we're jet lagged,
Yes.
and because you walk 15 miles a day at this gigantic convention, which is then extremely crowded, and it's long, and people talk to us, and that's fantastic and all, but it's just like nonstop. You get there and it's like bum 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 bum,
Yeah,
all day.
They're long days, right?
And so
It's also
Saturday night, after 4 days of this, well, I mean, we got there early to set up and everything. We went to this Dyson Mystics event, which we didn't know where it was. We just got in cars and they took us up these hills. We're like, okay, well, we hope we're going somewhere good, you know. Just how the Dice Tower disappeared. And they treated us so well. They brought
did.
us there. When we came in, the funniest raffle draw I think I've ever seen. Like easily the worst prizes of a raffle ever, and yet they made them sound so
Oh, yeah.
spectacular.
Yeah.
You get a 5% coupon.
They were like goofy on purpose. He's not judging the
No,
ring being bad.
I'm not mocking.
They were on purpose, like silly little things, for the most part.
And we ordered food that showed up late. I didn't even care. We were playing games and everyone was having a good time. It was so relaxed. It was like this oasis of relaxation. And then we went back to Essen.
Well, Essen is like the longest day out of all the conventions.
It is, because it goes from 10 to 7, and they always open the doors 15 minutes early, so it's like 9:45 to 7, and they don't kick people out at 7, so it's 9:45 to 7:15.
Yeah.
That's long.
Yeah. It's the longest day, so that just kind of compounds it. But again, it's still very fun.
No,
But
don't
it
get me
is
wrong.
very
I
stressful.
enjoy it, but this was a nice break in the middle.
Right.
For sure.
It was definitely a refresher. It gave us that second wind
Yeah.
to finish the con strong instead of being more tired. Though that
We still
last
were,
day, yeah,
but
we
the
were.
last
But
day were kind of-
we had that refresher. We had that rejuvenation going on. So that was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Number 4.
All right, my number 4 is another game. Got to play Twilight Imperium 4 with Brian from FFG, Tom, and Roy.
I thought about putting this on my list, and then I thought, no.
Okay, that's fine.
No, it wasn't a bad experience. It just wasn't in
can
my
be
top
wrong.
10.
Where was this?
In a secret room
It
in
was
a
at Gen
hotel.
Con. It wasn't really secret. It was.
Oh, like when you got shown
yeah,
the
it was up on the
game.
second
Got it.
floor of our hotel.
What room was it?
On one of the side rooms.
For people next
There
year.
were other people in the room. It wasn't like this secluded affair. It was just, it was a very fun time because we were all savvy on how to play the game already.
Even Tom?
And yeah,
I know how to
and
play the game.
he's the one that taught me how to play Twilight Imperium's second edition.
I've regretted it my whole life.
That was you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But we were all savvy on how to play the game, basically. So Brian just had to really kind of gloss over all of the differences, which aren't that many, but the differences that are there are very solid, and they produce a better game, in my opinion. But just the experience of, a couple of days before this is when I found out it was happening.
I know, right?
And then, boom, I get to play
get to
it.
play it.
I
It
tried
was
to
just
hold
a
her
really
off on
cool
Sam
thing.
as long as I could.
Yeah, it was just a really cool thing, and Brian's always a good guy to come show us.
Yeah, he's fun to play games with.
He's just really fun to play games
We
with.
played games with him all over the place. In the hotel room, on the bed, we played. And no, we did. Don't.
I know,
It happened.
I was there too for that one.
Yeah, you were watching.
We played in the middle of the hall. We played like in a. We played
What
in
did you say?
in a lounge.
You were just watching the Rune Wars game.
Yes, I was
Yes.
watching you
Let's
play Rune
slide
War.
into mine here. My number 4
Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
is my last one with these guys, and that is Exit the Game. And we played the
okay.
first time I played it.
Oh, this was
Was at the gathering. It was with you
Yeah,
guys and Kevin Wilson.
To be
And-
fair, I was not really playing that.
You definitely solved at least one puzzle, didn't you? Like, there was a moment where you shined, I remember.
Yes, one fleeting moment.
Hey, but that's what I
was
like
just-
about the game.
all
I just remembered
all
it.
I
It
did
wasn't
was
that
going,
fleeting.
hey, why don't we try this? And they were like,
And then I was like, shut up, Sam. Hey, how about we do this? Because that's how I do.
No, but this was the first experience I had with this one. This was before I had played The only other ones I had played was the Escape the Room with my daughter and my wife, I think.
Yeah.
No, just my daughter. We had just played those. So this was my first time playing with gamers, and it was like a really fun experience because I was thinking, okay, is someone going to dominate this one? How's this one going to work? We need scissors and stuff, and it was a really good time.
Yeah.
I felt like everybody contributed. You know, it was just great.
Un poquito.
But I still enjoyed it.
See?
Did I did it right?
You did.
I did it right.
I do remember that experience, and it was the one we didn't play when I did my number 6 with the exit games, because that one I had played with you guys. But it's definitely also the moment that put that seed in my head, like, wow, these are very unique experiences, you know?
Yeah, it was just really fun. And it was also a nice setting to do it in. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice. My number 4 is had something that Tom just mentioned, that event, the Dice and Mystics event. And I'm not saying the entire event, because again, I was picking kind of specific things, but I got to play with Uli and Elena, and there were a couple of other people there at the table, and we played a few things in a row. One of the ones that I had a ton of fun and we were just laughing was we got to play a Doodle Rush, which is the one where you sketch stuff quickly and then people try to guess what it was you sketch in like a minute or something. And I was just dying laughing because Uli had drawn like a donkey or something was one of the words, something like that. But it just looked weird. In fact, I took a picture and we kept laughing about it and we kept coming back to it. And just the whole thing was very, like you said, it was jovial and it was a nice break from the really long days at Essen and the hustle and bustle of like the fair, you know. Just sit back, relax, and play a couple of party games, which is basically what I did. I played nothing heavy there. I played that, and I played What's It To Ya, and I played like silly stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And playing with Uli and Elena and the other folks at the table was really fun and easy going, and I enjoyed it a lot. So that's my number 4, Dyson Mystics.
I'm counting that as a crossover.
I was. Again, we said this was going to happen. It brought back. I got to play a couple of games with Eric Summer. We don't get to play games that much because he's way away. So, and it's also the first time I've ever seen Eric get angry at a game.
Oh, you just didn't play with him that much.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I mean, he gets angry.
Rage.
He got angry at Pyramid of the Sun.
Oh, because he didn't like it.
Yeah, because he hated it. He thought it was horrible, and I didn't do a very good job teaching because I was like, okay, this is how you do it. Da, 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 da. I had read the rules the night before, like at 2:00 in the morning, already tired. So I had forgotten a couple of things. Anyway. I went to go play a different game with one of the guys from Dice, Boards and Dice, but that was a great experience.
Cool.
We'll say it's mine.
I'm counting
11
it as a 3-way crossover.
Anything else is
now.
an 11, basically.
Yes.
Number 3.
Number 3 is a direct follow-up to my number 4, where I just said we played Exit at the Gathering, and number 3 is playing Exit with my family then. So I was like, I got 2 more copies of this. You know, I'm going to go home and play them. And I convinced Laura to try it out. And she said, like, this was like, after we played the second one, I said, I got a third one. She was like, let's do it.
Ooh.
I like that. You know, that's an exciting thing. And all my family got involved at various points. I have 3 people, me, Melody, and Holly, and my wife, 4 of us, who play them all, right? And then the other daughters kind of swing in and out. They come in and be like, why don't you do that? Fade off into the distance. You know? And, but it's fun. I mean, one kid just sits there and your job is we'll say, okay, we're going to check the wheel, and they do that. That's not that big, but they're still participating.
Yeah, that's good.
And the surprises that were in these, even though you weren't as big of a fan of them as I was, we were just like, that was amazing. It was just a great experience. So I really like doing this. I mean, I could just say all the escape rooms I played with my family this year have been super fun, and that I liked a lot. So Exit the Game.
Okay, excuse me. My number 3 has been mentioned already, and that is Pandemic Legacy Season 2.
Woo! 2 crossovers!
That we got to play right here. And again, the game has a lot of ups and downs, very dramatic twists and turns. It's an enjoyable experience, and it's a memorable one because of that story and the story-driven aspect of the Legacy game. So Tom already laid it out. That is also my number 3.
All right, my number 3 is playing Warhammer Underworld Shadespire with the designers. This is actually that is encapsulated within my trip to Warhammer World. You're
gonna get that trip on every year. You'll be like,
Man, I love going there. It is so fun going there. I love spending time with the people that are there. One of the highlights of the trip is just sitting down and having lunch with the guys. And I just really enjoy that kind of experiential visit rather than more of a business type visit, because after the lunch it did kind of turn into a business visit, but they were pretty gracious in allowing me not only to play the game with the designers, but I was also able to go and talk to the director of Warhammer TV and get a peek behind the scenes at some of the different things that they do for Warhammer TV. Got to take a look at the setup that they use that shoots all of their videos, whether it's playing a game or it's a painting video back in one of their rooms in the building, way back in the dark corners, recesses of their universe, or whatever you want to call it. But
welcome to the backside of Games Workshop.
No, but it's just really fun. I don't think I can go into too many details, but I'm like walking down this hallway, and there's like literally divisions and divisions of armies that are just on a shelf waiting to be used in a video. And it's not like these are just like shoddily painted. These are like great paint jobs, and they're just sitting there waiting to be used. And that was just kind of a surreal experience for me to just walk through a hallway where all this stuff is, and it's not like they're being put on display. This is just stuff that's being stored for use, I guess, in some future video or some previous video. So it was just a really great time. But the highlight of the session was getting a peek through behind the scenes at Warhammer TV, and also being able to play Shadespire for the first time with the designers. So, and it turns out to be a game that I just really enjoy a lot. So, had a great time. My number 3.
Number 2.
My number 2 is I think I've realized that every time I make one of these lists, one of the entries is me playing with my family at some game or other, or some event or other.
Mm-hmm. So
because I don't.
He obligatorily puts his family on.
No, it's not even it. It's just because I don't play with them that much. That isn't a party game again that we've played.
Right.
They're not gamers. Like, I mean, my sister plays a couple of silly, like, get up and act foolish kind of party games, and the other ones humor me a little bit. Like, that's basically it. But when there is a hit and it keeps getting played, especially in the same day as it did with this game, I remember it. So this game is one I bought used at Essen this year. It's a game called Fluch der Mumie, which Eric Summerer talks about all the time.
He does.
It's a game. It's a kid's game, basically. I think in English, if it ever did come out in English, I believe I've seen a cover that said on it, Pyramid. Same game, same.
Super boring. The other one sounds like mummies and stuff. This
yeah.
Fluch der Mumie sounds so much better.
Sounds more like but Pyramid is just Pyramid. This is, I'll just give you a very brief rundown here. It's basically a game where one player is a mummy, the other players are, exploring the tomb of the mummy, the pyramid, and they sit on opposite sides of the box of the game, and in it you stick a divider that's magnetic. And so the other players have their pieces stuck on it, and they can move from room to room, which is illustrated on the board, picking up specific things that you have to go and get. And then the mummies on the other side, I cannot see where they're moving if I'm the mummy. And I move a piece on my side that is also magnetically connected to one on theirs. And as I move my piece, they see my piece sort of float along. And if it ever comes into a room where they are, it goes clack, clack, and it catches it magnetically. And then I hear it, I'm like, I got you, And so I try to catch a certain number of people, and I win when I do that. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's the game. It's a very simple, again, kids game. We played this thing like 5 times in a row. And my mother was like, okay, I'm the mummy now, and she jumped in there, and then my sister got dragged into it. She wasn't even at the table, tried it on one side, then immediately wanted to be the mummy as well.
Is it more fun to be the mummy?
No, they're both fun, I think, because you have the tension of not being caught when you are the other people. You can sort of like just hide into a corner and hope that they don't make that curve. And they'll go right by you sometimes. Mm-hmm. You're like, don't turn, It's great. It's a really fun kids game. Lots of visual appeal, but very tense as well. So that is my number 2, playing that game with the family a bunch of times, and I loved it.
All right, very cool. My number 2 is a family inclusion as well. This one is I did my first review that I've ever done with my youngest son. Now my son Aiden has accompanied me on some intros and outros for Throw Punch Lunch, but we never did a review together. And just when I proposed that we would do this to him, I said, why don't you? It was after church one Sunday night. I said, why don't you come with me? We're going to record a review together. And he just lit up. He was so excited. And if you watch the video, he's just like, he's just like really excited about the whole time. And he did a good job. He had fun with it, and I really enjoyed the experience. So we're going to try to do some more in the future, but this was a great experience for me to see how excited he was about it. To do, something with Daddy at his work, that type of thing. So
right.
I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed how much he enjoyed the experience, and that's why it's my number 2. Hopefully it won't be the last.
My number 2 is Werewolf, and this one just recently happened, and that was on the cruise ship.
Oh.
That's where I went up to do it in the Oliver Twist Lounge, and I was like kind of crowded, and I was like, And then I saw the outside area there, and I'm like, no one's using that area. And we went out there, and it was windy and dark, and it was great to play Werewolf there. There's a little bit of light, right? And not that you could see your card, that's all you need to see. Right. And we could see each other. So we pulled out a whole pile of chairs, and we put them in a circle and played it out there. At one point, we had to rescue the werewolf cards because I set them down on top of the thing, and they went over the railing, not over this railing, but onto the lower deck, so people all ran down and grabbed all the cards.
Oh my goodness gracious. That's why you have to use those coins, man.
Would have been a good story. Well, I know I was going to use the coins, but I thought it's too dark to read the coins properly.
Okay.
People have cell phones, bro. With flashlights on them.
That's true.
But coins ain't going to blow away.
But it worked really well. I mean, the only thing that threw it off was the speaker was still outside, so there was music, songs and stuff. Yeah. I would have preferred to have been just the wind and the darkness.
That's awesome.
But it was really fun, and it was a great game. Boniger was in the first one. We played 2 games in a row, and they were both really good. The first one, lots of new people, and the loud people talked themselves to death really fast because a lot of people were quiet. But it got better. And then the second one, people had played the first game, so they were thinking more, okay, this is how it works. Mm-hmm. It was a really good time. And the first one, the werewolves just dominated that game. Mm-hmm. Second one, they got destroyed. So that was good.
And finally, number 1.
All right, my number 1 is going to feel like a catch-all, but it really
that means it is.
But the reason is because I did pick primarily all of the times that I got to play Blood Rage over the course of the year at all of these different conventions with a lot of different kinds of people.
It was like 600 people.
No, well, I wouldn't say. Well, it could have been. But no, playing Blood Rage and so many, I actually have it in parentheses here, and so many other games. I just felt like I had a lot of the
the catch-all.
It is. I already said that. Come on.
Calm down, Jerry Seinfeld.
So it's just all of their different games I was able to play with so many different people this year. They all stick out in one way or another. Maybe I can't remember the exact game that we played, but I can remember the people's faces. I can remember when somebody taught us sword and sorcery at Origins. I can remember
that certain smell emanating.
No.
From the food court nearby.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not actually understanding Z either at this point. Keep going.
I'm just saying something is memorable.
The definite magnet here is Blood Rage because it just seemed like this year so many different people. I had one guy at Essen actually come by the booth and say, if I go buy Blood Rage, Will you teach me how to play the game? Right?
You're setting a precedent here. You
So I'm
just
like-
opened that door, didn't
I'm
you?
like, okay, fine,
That's
yeah,
not how
I'll
it's
do it.
normally gonna work
No,
here,
it's
okay?
not normally going to work that way. But that was a cool thing that the dude hadn't even bought the game yet, and he was like, if I go buy it, will you? You know, that's just cool. And being able to play games with people at conventions is one of the highlights of the conventions for me. Now, we got to do the work that has to be done. We have to do the shows. We have to do all that other type of stuff. But being able to meet people, play games, have those experiences with people, that's the cool stuff. That's the cool stuff. That's my number one.
Yeah. What actually happened was the guy came up and said, "Wah wah 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 wah, Blood Rage, wah wah wah," and Sam was like, "Yes."
No,
Everything else
that's
didn't
not what
matter.
happened.
He just heard
Oh,
Blood
whatever.
Rage.
Charlie Brown Blood Rage.
I know, right?
A Blood Rage Christmas. Wah, 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 wah. Blood Rage.
All right, my number one happened at Dice Tower Con, and also I would like to say again, there's so many experiences I could have talked about. During the hurricane, we played games. You know, there was that going on. We played games all throughout the year. I mean, even we did that escape room in Philadelphia. That was a pretty cool experience. There's a lot of great stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah. That
You know,
was really
I
fun.
don't know if escape rooms count as a game experience, but that was a lot of fun. Right?
Wow.
Yes.
Some put being on podcasts and stuff on there. I think it counts.
They're
Well, I did-
gaming
anyway,
podcasts.
but anyway,
so
back
the
at Dice
escape
Tower
room
Con.
would count, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
One thing I do about 6 or 7 times a year in various places, from my church to conventions to before the cruise, is that I run pitch car.
Right.
I run a big pitch car game.
Yes.
And it's a lot of fun. I could have put any single one of those.
Fireworks.
Yeah, no, not the fireworks. I could have put anything. I could have put any of the games of pitch car on the list, really. But a few years ago, we had a few kids, and one kid did amazing. Like, he won the pitch car thing, and the other kid was in last place, and I felt bad. You know, I hope that. And then I thought, why not just do it with kids? Because it's always weird for adults. You know, like when you knock a kid off, you're like, yeah. Sorry, kid. Right. There's no way to win in that situation.
Right.
So I separated the kids out, and the
gotta
kids
run with
pitch
it,
car thing this year was way better than all the rest. They were all
Oh,
good,
I see.
but the kids grouping in pitch car was just amazing. I mean, every time someone went over the jump, I said it was the jump of doom, so the kids were all chanting, "Jump up, doom, jump up, doom." Every time a kid shot up over, and everyone claps when someone does a great shot. When someone messes up, you know, everyone's like, "Oh man," you know, and we
Except
laugh.
that one kid in the back that when you mess up, he's like, "Get out of here, kid!"
They're all having a great time, and they were better sports than even adults. Because when I play with adults, there's almost always one person who's like, does that shot count? Like,
Yeah.
shut up, I'm playing pitch car.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Sure, sure.
Now, I haven't had that. I don't think I even had that happen that much this year, but the kids are just like, woo, they're having a great time.
Yeah, they
so,
don't care that much, right?
There's some point in your teenage years where that just clicks, where you start worrying more about the rules than others than just having fun. There's some point.
The rules age
It's
is what we
somewhere
call it.
between middle school and high school. At one of those years in there, it just clink, and you're like, no, that's not proper.
Do you turn
gain
English?
you gain a
Yes,
British accent.
yes, that too.
All right. Anyway, that's
All
my
right.
number one.
My number one, Tom just sort of kind of mentioned actually there. This is gaming during the pre-hurricane run away from
Oh, really?
world ending.
From Sutton to.
No, because
Yeah.
it took our minds off it, right?
That's exactly why, yeah. It's Paper Tales, actually, specifically. We played a cool stuff.
I was just thinking, another reason for me to not like Paper Tales. Because it was
You
during.
associate with the hurricane?
Yes.
Yeah, but you also
I
played
liked it
Sword and
because
Sorcery.
I like it a lot because it's a great game. I've played it since.
Actually, it was Massive Darkness. That's
But I liked it in that moment because it was a new discovery that I was really enjoying as a great new game. And for like 20 minutes there, I wasn't thinking about the hurricane.
Only 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, dude, we were all thinking about it
know.
consistently.
And now, reflecting on it now when I was putting the list together, I'm like, that really helped because I needed those breaks. Those, like, every now and then I get a little break, And, yeah, that's why this one was my number one because, again, having those sort of moments where you get to decompress for a sec and then you can start sort of filling back up with it, then it really helps, So, yeah, that's my number one. Paper Tales, played a cool stuff before the hurricane, and I really enjoyed the game. And the experience of sharing some time and disconnecting was needed and good for everybody. So that's my number one.
Yeah, actually, I thought about that a lot. You know, that whole gaming experience. I thought, you know, next time a hurricane comes, I'm definitely gonna think ahead of time, because this time I was kind of like, what are we gonna do? If a big hurricane comes, I'm getting us all hotel rooms in the same hotel, and then we can all play games again, because it does take your mind off it, right?
And it goes to show, which is also what I was thinking about, how games have that power to transport you, to involve you. It's even more powerful, I think, than a passive activity like watching a movie or a TV show. Because if you can't get into it, your mind can still run.
Right.
A game is going to force you to be mechanically active with it. I mean, you're going to have to like use your motor skills to be active. It's going to require a little more focus in many ways, to be attentive to rules, all of that. And it will, if you get into the game, it will, you know, put you there. It will take you into that world. Which is great. I think it's a power that board games have that is perhaps a little bit overlooked, but fantastic.
Yeah, you have to be kind of careful with it, because that is also one of the more addictive qualities of board games, because it can be an escape, and sometimes you don't need to escape your life. You need to pay attention to your life.
Well, yes.
And you need to do that. So, it's a great thing, but it's also like a double-edged sword, because
It's a gateway drug.
it can also
Board games
be
is a
bad.
gateway
It can
drug.
also be a bad thing if you do that too much. If you do that too
Magic the Gathering is basically crack.
No, but I mean, this even back when I saw my at MeepleCon, I thought about my mom. It's the same, very similar thing.
Yes.
And even when I went to my mom's house, and right before she died, and I was playing some games with people there. Just again, instead of us just all sitting around being like,
Right.
we were doing something.
Right.
Don't forget, if you played a game with us and you're wondering where it is, you were number 11.
Correct.
And in all seriousness, I have had very few bad experiences over the year period. Anyway, you know, just playing games.
I'll make that list next week.
Could you imagine? Actually, we
That would
will
be
at some
bad.
point.
That would be horrible.
We will make a top 10 bad game experiences, but that won't be from the last year. It will be ever. That way you can include stuff from childhood.
Hoping that people forget about it before we say it. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying you can talk about like Joe Schmo, and it's really
Joe, you
really-
said Joe, so you heard that, Stedman.
Joe Stedman.
Heard that, Joe
Oh.
Snow.
Joe Sterdman.
All right. Anyway, hey, did you have some great gaming experiences? Did you have some? Were they with us? Probably not. Were they with who? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about the number 11 experience we didn't mention. But really, there was a lot of great times.
Yeah,
Anyway, until
very
next
good.
time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Zeke Garcia. Thanks, everybody.
Sam Healy. See you on the flip side, folks.